Good morning, students. Today we will discuss an important aspect of Indian economy on the eve of independence, that is agriculture sector. So now you see, before discussing what was the status of Indian agriculture sector on the eve of independence or during British period, it is very important to discuss the status of Indian agriculture sector in the pre-British period. Let's discuss this. You see, in the pre-British period and in British period, in both these periods, Indian economy was characterized as an agrarian economy because 85% of its total population get their livelihood directly or indirectly from the agricultural sector. So agriculture is the prominent sector of Indian economy in pre-British and also in British period. But both these periods used a primitive agricultural technology. But what is the difference between these two periods? You see, in pre-British period, Indian agriculture sector was characterized as an independent and sustainable sector because the agricultural product of India has high demand in the international market. Therefore, India has achieved a special status in the international market as far as its agricultural product is concerned in the pre-British period. But when the British keep their feet in Indian ground, they have changed the structure of Indian agriculture. The Indian agriculture has been reversed and it was characterized as a backward and stagnant sector. This is because of low agricultural productivity. Now the question arises that why in Indian agriculture during the British period there was backwardness and stagnation. That is because of the policy of the colonial rule implemented in India as far as its agriculture sector is concerned. So friends, let's discuss what were the causes of the backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture during this British period, which was reflected on the eve of independence. Let's discuss these causes first. Now friends, you look, these are the 7 regions or 7 causes of backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector during the British period. First one is your zamindari system, then revenue settlement policy, then outdated technology, negligible use of fertilizers, then inadequate irrigation facilities, then incentive to invest, and the last one is your partition of India. So these 7 are the main reasons for backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector. Now we will discuss one by one in brief. So let's discuss these causes one by one. Now discuss the first region, that is your zamindari system. Under this zamindari system, the zamindars were the intermediaries in between the colonial government and the tenants. So the zamindars collect revenue from the farmers without looking at their situation, whether the production is sufficient or not, whether the farmer is able to pay the rent or not. Irrespective of that, the zamindars collected the revenue from the farmers. But they have never tried, neither the zamindars nor the colonial government never tried for the development of the land. Therefore, these 2 regions caused a social tension among the tenants. As the tenants are in social tension, this affects the agricultural productivity. Therefore, the ultimate result was low productivity and backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture. This is the first reason of your stagnation and backwardness. Now see, the second reason for the backwardness or stagnation in Indian agriculture sector was the revenue settlement policy. Under this revenue settlement policy, the British government have fixed a certain amount and they also fixed the time period. That means the colonial government ordered the zamindars to deposit a fixed amount within a stipulated time period. Else, they will lose their rights over the land. So, being feared by this, the zamindars are now have to deposit that amount with the colonial government. But question is, from where the zamindars will collect? Therefore, the zamindars collect this revenue from the peasants by hook or crook, whether the agricultural production is sufficient, whether the production is being produced in sufficient amount so that the farmers can pay this or not, irrespective of the capacity of paying of the farmers. The zamindars by hook or crook, sometimes they also use the muscle power to collect this revenue from the peasants. Therefore, sometimes what also happens, now the peasants also sometimes lose their existing assets. Whatever already with them, they also, zamindars also took away all these things. Therefore, all these things demotivate the farmers to produce in their agricultural product. So the ultimate result is a low production. As the absolute production is very low, so there is characterized as backwardness and stagnation in the agricultural sector. This is the second reason. So now discuss the third reason, that is outdated technology. As you know that during British period, the farmers used the primitive technology. That means the traditional technology of plows and the traditional seeds. These were used in the agriculture sector because the colonial government have not introduced any modern technology, because the colonial government were always busy in development of their country at the cost of the Indian farmers. Therefore, they have never introduced any modern technology. So, due to this, the modern technology was not used and the farmers were forced to use the primitive technology, so the absolute production was decreased. When the absolute production was decreased, ultimately there is backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector. So this is the third reason. Now friends, come across the fourth reason, that is negligible use of your fertilizers. Farmers during the British periods, they used only the natural manures, the manures produced by the nature, because they have not get any subsidies for the use of the chemical fertilizers. As chemical fertilizers used was very negligible and farmers were forced to use the natural manures, therefore the agricultural productivity became low. Due to this, there was low productivity and low production, which ultimately resulted into the backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector. This is the fourth reason. Now, to come across this fifth reason, that is inadequate irrigation facilities. All of you know that irrigation is otherwise known as the artificial monsoon. But friends, British policy has never tried for irrigating the agricultural land area. And you will be astonished to know that only 17% of the agricultural land were irrigated. So, as you know, farming is a gamble of monsoon. Erratic monsoon drives to crop failure. When the monsoon was erratic, then there is situation of drought also happened. And you might have seen India has experienced many phases of your famines during this British period. That is due to this only. Therefore, the total absolute production in the agricultural sector was low during the British period. And this absolute low production gave rise to backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector. Okay, this is the fifth reason. Now the sixth reason, that is the incentive to invest. What this incentive to invest? Incentive to invest implies that how much motivation the farmers are getting to invest for the permanent development of the land. Friends, you know that as the farmers are not the real owner of the land, because you see that during this British period, the zamindars were the owner of the land and the tenants or the peasants are only taking land from the zamindars. They are not the real owner. So they are in a dilemma whether the land they cultivate will be with them in the next year or not. That means they are in a dilemma whether the land which is they are cultivating now, whether this land will remain with them or the zamindar will take away this land and give to somebody else. Therefore, so they are demotivated to invest for the permanent of the particular piece of land. The farmers were totally demotivated. They have never tried for the permanent development of the land. When the permanent development of the land is not possible, that will result into decline in the agricultural productivity. When the productivity of the land will decline, obviously the agricultural product will decline. And when the agricultural product will decline, then what will happen? Now, then there will be backwardness and stagnation in the agriculture sector. So this is the sixth reason for backwardness and stagnation in agriculture sector. So now see the last, the seventh reason is partition of India. All of you know that in 1947, India was divided into two countries. One is India and another is Pakistan. But unfortunately, the most fertile and irrigated land of India, which were used for the cultivation of cottons, were gone to Pakistan. Now this portion is in Bangladesh. Or if you see that as the fertile and irrigated land were gone to Pakistan, so the total availability of land for cultivation was declined drastically, and moreover the fertile and irrigated land. So this resulted into the decline in the absolute production of agricultural sector. As the absolute production of agricultural sector was declined, so there is backwardness and stagnation in Indian agriculture sector. Now friends, you see all these 7 points which we were discussed, these were the policies implemented by the British rule in India. Due to these faulty policies, due to their protective policy of their economy, that Indian agricultural sector during the British period was characterized as backward and stagnant. And moreover, on the eve of independence, this was reflected in Indian agriculture sector. Therefore, we can conclude that it is the British policy which are responsible for the stagnation and backwardness in Indian agriculture sector. So this is all about this concept that Indian economy on the eve of independence and what was the status of Indian agriculture sector on the eve of independence. Okay, I think it is clear to all of you. Thank you.